I promise tell you the good theories and more. But for real though, hey everyone, welcome to a spongy episode. We talking about the most famous Bob of all movies and TV shows, and that is Spongebob Sqaurepants. You know that teacher who teaches SpongeBob and his mates. I wonder what Mrs. Not So Puff is up to. That right, folks, today, Theories is dark, and it's about Mrs. Puff from SpongeBob Sqaurepants. Warning, if you don't like dark theories and don't want to ruin your childhood, please watch at your own risk. Here, a quick backstory about Mrs. Puff. Mrs. Puff is a paranoid driving teacher and the owner of the town boating school. Apparently, she would like nothing more than to pass ol' Spongebob, which is quite okay and sus. But however, Spongebob is her most dedicated student. I wonder why. Does she have an obsession with him? But obviously, SpongeBob occasionally fails his test.
Hello, Mrs. Puff.
SpongeBob failures leads to Mrs. Puff getting wounded and hurt.
The flowers I sent.
She even has a criminal
I'm
record.
allergic to them.
Can you believe that Mrs.
This
Puff
room is
keeps
so
getting
dark
arrested
and you need sunlight.
Now on to theory. I have this theory that Mrs. Puff is a creepy old lady who has an obsession with SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs, and even tries to kill them both secretly. Let's start with the obvious thing, which is Mr. Krabs and Mrs. Puff. I don't see Mr. Krabs having Mrs. Puff as his girlfriend. It's not even possible. Mrs. Puff is married and so is Mr. Krabs. So why they even get together? So what exactly happened to Mrs. Puff husband first of all? According to Google, Mr. Puff is the late husband to Mrs. Puff and was only appearing in one episode called Krusty Love. In that episode, where it was revealed that he was killed by the humans and turned into a novelty light bulb cover for a lamp, here's what SpongeBob has to say about Mrs. Puff. He quoted saying that Mrs. Penelope Puff doesn't like to talk about what had happened to her husband. To that, I then say, I wonder why. Did she hire the people to kill her husband? So now you must be thinking so. Then what happened to Mr. Krabs' wife? And hear what Google has to say about it. Mrs. Krabs is an unseen character in the series, and was the mother of Pearl Krabs, and was the husband of Eugene H. Krabs. It's unclear whether she was deceased or if she and Mr. Krabs was divorced. However, it then go on to say that she is confirmed to be a whale like her daughter, as revealed the official trivia book, written by former episode writer David Fain in 2000. In the book, Mr. Krabs says that Pearl is a whale because she takes after her mother that way. But what could that mean? And it doesn't stop there. But we talk about it more in part 2, so stay tuned. Now on to Mrs. Puff and SpongeBob connection.
Let's get this over
Let me know
with.
if you too believe that Mrs. Puff is a creepy woman in the comments below.
What's the first
The
thing
ways
you do?
Mrs. Puff annoyance over SpongeBob is not right. She keeps shouting SpongeBob so many times as if she wants to get rid of him. For real, he's a student and still a young person.
Mrs. Puff.
So what's the fuss over him? My take is Mrs. So-called Puff is a creepy woman who rather risk her to kill SpongeBob so that she doesn't want to see or hear him ever again, and would like to kill her boyfriend Mr. Krabs by giving him crab meat so that she can eat him. To be honest, this is a speculation, but could be an actual theory ton go on. I reckon as well that she had enough with her husband, so she hired hit humans to kill her husband and say to the police that her husband was killed and she didn't know who did it, so that she can go and be after her one true love, which Mr. Krabs, while also secretly spying on SpongeBob, because she also has a complicated obsession with Spongebob. Well, guys, that's it for part 1. In part 2, we will finally come to conclusion on who Mrs. Puff truly is and why she's been creepy, and many more. For a chance to get a shout-out in the next video, please comment Dark Rouge to get a shout-out. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and comment.